for you to live. But the actual word Islam comes from the root verb salama in Arabic, which means to exist in peace. So it's a state of peace. What kind of peace are we talking about? It's a three-way peace. It's peace with yourself, it's peace with your creator, and it's peace with the other. And the Islamic belief is that for you to have peace with yourself, you have to have peace with God first. And in order for you to be at peace with your neighbors, with your friends, with your countrymen, with other people around the world, you have to be at peace with yourself. Those who are in internal turmoil, who lack inner peace, are not very good to others, are not able to exist peacefully with others. So you got to begin internally. So it's a three-way process. The reason why I mention this is because all of the forms of worship in Islam, including fasting, is but an exercise to arrive at that level of peace. That is the goal. That is the ultimate idea and spirit of Islam. And in Arabic also, the word to believe, a believer, a mu'min, comes from the root verb amana, which means to exist in security. So to be a believer, you find security from your belief. Amana, security. Now, how does fasting help us arrive at peace? Well, let me talk to you about the concept of wealth. What does it mean to be wealthy? It's something that everybody around the world, either consciously or subconsciously, aspires to be wealthy, to be well off at the very least. Well, most philosophers would define being wealthy, being rich, as being in a state where your desires are met with your assets or your resources. That's the basic philosophical definition. So there are two ways that you can achieve this if you think about it. There's the traditional way, and then there's the revolutionary way, which is what I would consider revolutionary, but it's the Islamic way. The traditional way is where you continue to chase after assets and resources to match your increasing desires. So you get your first car, naturally speaking as a human being, you're there, you have a car, well now you want the second car. Or you have a good car, well now you want a better car. Or you're in a job, well now you want a promotion. You have a house, well now you want the summer home. There's always something extra that you can aspire to and chase after or try to acquire. And the more you get, the more you want. And it keeps on going in this endless cycle, where for many people, it ends up being a state of just being jaded, being cynical. Nothing satisfies you anymore. You're not gratified by anything anymore. You could be living in a high-rise or in a beautiful mansion, but you're not feeling happy. You're not feeling that you have this, comfort and luxury. It's just the way it is. You get accustomed to it. You get used to it. You don't feel it anymore. You get a guest come over, wow, you have a great garden, you have a beautiful home. Look at this furniture. You're like, oh, well, I know I do, but it's just me, just normal. You're not waking up every morning and going, wow, look at me. I'm so lucky, I'm so happy, look what I have. Well, the other way to achieving wealth, to being rich, if the equation, think about it, for those of you who have taken algebra before, you have the equal sign and two variables on either side. If the equation is that where your desires are met with your assets, they're matched together, well, what about if we bring our desires down to match our assets and resources, rather than the traditional way where you always try to bring your resources and assets up to match your desires? So in this case, whatever you're given from God is your starting point, are the resources and the assets that you have. And then the trick, the revolution, the idea, is for you to learn to curb and manage and control your desires where they truly match, i.e. are satisfied and gratified, and find a sense of happiness from whatever it is that you have. And so, if you live in a one-bedroom apartment, and you truly are okay with that and happy with that, you come home, and the way you organize your stuff, the way you decorate it, the kind of things you do in there, you're reading your books, you're watching your movies, it's a home to you. You feel a sense of shelter, a sense of comfort, a sense of belonging, and it brings you happiness and satisfaction. You're wealthy, by definition. Wealthier than somebody who lives in a 20-room, bedroom mansion, but still is anxious and unhappy and wants more. Or feels like, oh, this deal went wrong. It could have been better. I would have had this home in Hong Kong or Dubai or whatever. they still feel like they're not satisfied. This is where fasting comes in. It teaches us not just to feel what others feel, but to appreciate the simplest of things. For those of you who have studied psychology, there's the pyramid of Maslow, Abraham Maslow, that talks about what? The hierarchy of needs. And one of the most basic needs for any human being is food. Before it's anything else, before you arrive at the apex of self-actualization. So we're talking here about a basic desire, a basic blessing, a basic resource that we all tend to take for granted. We take even what's above that for granted. Mind you, the most basic of things. And so the exercise of fasting, the tradition of fasting, is to curb our desire, to curb the presence, the abundance of this food for a while, in order to be able to feel appreciation for that which we take for granted every day. And those of you who have fasted as Muslims during Ramadan all your life, as our non-Muslim friends who are here who have done the Fastathon, you know what it's like to be at that table come sunset, and you're looking at that morsel of bread or that cup of water or whatever it is that you have on there, and you look at it very differently. For a moment at least, you have a true sense of happiness, a true sense of satisfaction, a true sense of appreciation for that which was always in front of you, that you always took for granted. You walk through Dominic's or Jewel or, in my case, Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, I'm sure you will. And it's just colorful aisles, endless aisles of abundance, of great foods that are available and present to all of us every single day. And it doesn't excite any of us. It's just a rote, mechanical thing that we do. You buy what you want, stick it in that cart, go to the cashier, go home, stick it in your refrigerator or pantry, and you eat it. But when you have something so simple as bread, and you feel happy because of it, you've accomplished something. You have mastered your own soul, your own spirit, your own desires. You are a better person as a result of it. We fast for a time to end, from sunrise to sunset. There are those, and by choice, there are those who have to go longer, for days on end, for weeks on end, for months sometimes, with very little food in between. And it's not by choice. For a world that has as much resources, food resources, natural resources, as our planet has, and as few relative inhabitants as our planet has, it's criminal that people go hungry every day. So many millions of people, hundreds of millions of people around the world. The unfair and unjust distribution of resources is something that we all, regardless of your religion or race, the human race, has to take the blame for and has to work around. Today you're students, you're student leaders, you're doing things in the student campus. Tomorrow you'll be leaders in the outside world, finding your space, finding your place. Those of you who get into politics will have challenges that you'll need to meet. Those of you who are doctors, or professionals, or lawyers, or architects will have the same, teachers, etc. And the question will become, how focused are you? How well do you get the bigger picture? Do you believe that you, a single human being amongst billions, can make a difference? And if we don't work now on finding the compassion in ourselves, on seasoning our souls to feel what others are going through, not simply to know or to read about it, we're never going to make a difference. And so that is the reason why, in our tradition, fasting is so important. It's not something that is done once in a lifetime, it's something that's done yearly, because once you acquire something, you may lose it, and so it needs to be renewable. You may forget that feeling if it's just one time. So every year, you're reminded again and again to come back to that state of appreciation. And hopefully, the compassion that nurtures in you will translate into action that will benefit those who are in the have-nots. It's one thing to force taxes and to take that money and redistribute it. It's another thing to have people who believe in something, who feel the needs of the others, volunteer to give their money and to give charity and to give their time and to give food to those who need it because they're in need. And again, that is the sort of economic philosophy behind fasting. Now, it's not the only reason we fast. It's not the only benefit of fasting. We believe that there are medical benefits as well. If you think about it, even in the English language, iftar translates to breakfast. And if you kind of dissect the word breakfast, which we kind of take as one word, it's break your fast. Break your fast. And the reason is, when you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you're breaking the fast that you've been through while you were sleeping for the past 6, 8, whatever number of hours. And so, even in the English language, that first meal is defined within the context of fasting. And the body, the human body, benefits from this period where it is not working to digest and to, pump these nutrients into the blood. It's taking a break, it's taking a rest. And then when you give it a healthy meal, it then maximizes its ability to absorb nutrients and distribute them around the body. And there are many other detailed benefits, medical benefits, to fasting that you can find, or I'm sure our MSA here has resources that we can share with you. I won't go through all of them. But apart from the medical, apart from the social, there's also the benefits, of course, as everything in this life, of the connection with God. Who provides? Who provides the food that we have? God. In the Muslim tradition, I'm sure the Jewish and the Christian other traditions as well, God is at the center. And it's important for us, in our connection with God, to not do things because we have to, alone. To not do things because that's just the way they're done. Our families do them. They're mechanical, they're traditional, they're run-of-the-mill, ritualistic. It's very important to be in a state of conscience. To have this great consciousness of what you're doing. And when you think about the provider of this food, when you think first of all of how much you need it, and the fact that it's there for you, that sense of appreciation and gratitude, gratitude is the word I want to get at, because it's a central theme of Islam. When we give a khutbah, which is the sermon Friday, Friday being the holy day of the week in Islam, we always begin with what? Alhamdulillah. We thank God. And the Lord's Prayer in the Quran, the holy book of Islam, begins with what? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Grace be, gratitude be to the Lord of the universe. So it's a very important theme, this gratitude. Why is it important? Because the relationship between us and God is a two-way relationship, one in which we give grace and gratitude, and one in which He gives blessings and sustenance. He always does His part. We're all blessed in different ways. As humans, we have a tendency to look at what we lack. If only I was taller, if only I was thinner, if only I was more beautiful, if only I didn't have this kidney problem or this heart condition, or if my eyesight was better, or whatever else that you think you lack. But we don't tend to think about what we have that we may not have had, or could, in other situations, just wouldn't have had. We don't count our blessings. The Quran states very clearly, if you count your blessings, you will never run out of these blessings. You could not count them, actually. They're infinite. And I give the example of sometimes asking the question, who here is a millionaire? And pretty much nobody raises their hand. I guess if you are a millionaire, you probably don't want to raise your hand and let us know, but then I say this, I'm a millionaire, you're all millionaires. And I can prove it to you. It's very simple. If you were to be blinded right now, and they were to say, well, there's this amazing magic cure, all it takes is just a pill. You pop the pill, your eyesight comes back 100%. But it's going to be $1 million. It's going to cost $1 million. I guarantee you, if you had that money, you would pay. You would pay 10 times over. But guess what? You have your eyesight for free. $1 million worth and more. Think about that. You would, 100%. If you didn't have the money, you would raise the money. You would more the money. You do what you can. To get something that we take for granted, something so simple. We all, a lot of us have, but if not that, then something else. But we don't think about it as an asset. We don't think about it as a blessing.